it is Amanda today with the latest National Solutions Selling Panel video with Crown Castle and Rackspace. I'm joined by my friends, Roger and Jeff. Thank you both so much for taking the time to sit down with me today. To get us started with this conversation, Roger, I would love if you could tell us what is the primary solution you want our advisors to think of Crown Castle for?
Yes, well, thank you, Amanda. Appreciate the opportunity and certainly the consideration of Crown Castle. It's awesome to be here. So, what do we want customers to think about? The fact is, we've got a pretty broad array of services that we provide in the marketplace. I like to think of it about it kind of in three buckets. You've got kind of the core main bucket of services that partners probably already know about if they've worked with us. Networking services such as DIA and Ethernet and SD-WAN and fixed wireless and wave circuits, connectivity to cloud providers and such. We provide a variety of another bucket we kind of call emerging services where things are pretty exciting, such as edge services, rooftop wireless infrastructure, tower connectivity, in-building solutions like distributed antenna service. But to answer your question directly, there's a third bucket, which is where we really want our partners to understand. This is where we win all of the time and have a very compelling story. It's what we call custom built fiber solutions. So the first thing you need to know is we do dark fiber, which makes us unique in many aspects. But many customers out there, they don't have the wherewithal or the sophistication to really not just deploy, but manage and maintain and secure those types of networks, although they'd love to have all the benefits. That's where we come in. So we can deploy the fiber network, and we don't just deploy the network, we actually own and manage the electronics at the center of that. That makes all the difference in the world. So a customer can get all the advantages of a truly private fiber network without, with a much lower total cost of ownership. And so we focus on the medical vertical, the financial vertical, K through 12. These are all the sweet spot for this type of solution. And we don't have a peer in this space. So it is an area where we win and have a great story to tell, in addition to all the other stuff. So
I love it. Thank you so much, Roger, for walking through that. I'd love to pass it over to Jeff now. Jeff, can you also expand, when it comes to Rackspace, where are you unbeatable? What do you want our advisors to think of Rackspace for?
Oh, Amanda, thank you so much for having us here and for asking about these questions. This is great stuff because when you think about Rackspace, it's all about where that compute runs and how customers are successful, specifically in adopting and utilizing the cloud for all of its capabilities. Now, of course, as Crown Castle gets your data where it needs to go, once it's there, this move to the cloud is such a different environment than, say, upgrading from, an older version of a server to a new version of a server. That's a waterfall event. It's a thing that happens every now and again. And you may be, and your sellers may be used to going out when they ask the question, have you moved to the cloud, thinking you could get in on some migration, and they say, yeah, we're there. Well, the problem there is that it's not a singular event. You see, a move to the cloud moves you into an environment where it is constantly updating underneath your feet. So even with these environments that we're migrating customers into AWS or Azure or to Google, even once they're there, there's constant care and feeding and upgrade and transformation that's available there. I like to say the cloud is infinite in capability and infinite in capacity. Now we know in practical terms it isn't, but there's more there than we can ask for. So Rackspace has this offering. It's called Elastic Engineering. And that Elastic Engineering is a small group of people that comes alongside your customers and helps them on a day-by-day basis, not in a reactive, hey, will you fix the thing? Of course, we'll fix the thing, but in a proactive, hey, by the end of next week, we want this to be happening in the cloud. By the end of next month, these are our goals. And Rackspace aligns to those customer goals in an outcome-driven or focused service offering to help them get there. So that's Rackspace Elastic Engineering, and it's really one of the core offerings that Rackspace has, be it private cloud or public cloud. And so when your sellers are out talking to their opportunities and they say, yes, we've moved to the cloud, don't think that's a closed door. It's actually an open door to a lifelong amount of activity and service that we can help provide.
I think you brought up a great kind of segue to our next question here, Jeff. I know you mentioned, when people hear, oh, we're migrating to the cloud, that's not a closed door. What are some other, best practices you've seen from our technology advisors that they use with their end user clients that you wish other advisors would duplicate?
The most successful advisors are the ones that are inquisitive, and they just ask not technical questions. Don't feel like you need to wade into the waters of where we play inside of Rackspace and all the things that we do. Your opportunity is to find out what are the company's business opportunities or what are their challenges. And where Rackspace really shines is then being able to come along and match just the right technology transformation at just the right time, because timing is everything. In fact, your sellers may be in there on a Monday and there's no interest, but you know what? Come that next Monday, come the Monday, the month after that, or the month after that, everything is transforming. And the cloud is that ubiquitous tool that is serving the technology needs. And but the adoption of that day after day, week after week, month after month is really where that elastic engineering comes in. And the advisors and providers who are the most successful are the ones that stay in there and just keep asking questions.
I love that. Roger, I'd love to know too, you mentioned being unbeatable when it comes to fiber. What are some great sales practices that you've seen advisors use that you wish others would duplicate?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would tell you that my answer is largely in parity with Jeff's in many ways. I think of it in terms of just less transactional and more consultative. What we see is some of our top, advisors out there think about outcomes and talk to customers about those outcomes rather than talking about product and technology and pricing specifically or leading with those types of conversations. And so taking our best sellers out there can work backwards from the goal or the outcome and then align products and services around that to drive towards that outcome. That's a unique skill set, but one that's very valuable, whether you're promoting Crown Castle or Rackspace or what have you. And then the other thing I would say is what we see, and this would probably be the same thing for Rackspace as well. We've got partners out there who go way beyond the director of IT these days. They work broadly across various business units. They might be sitting in front of vice president of HR or someone within marketing who all have different needs across the business that can be solved with technology. And so that's another attribute of some of our most successful, partners out there in the marketplace that we see.
Amanda, if I could just jump back in for a second, is just to jump on what Roger was saying and take it a step farther, and that is the successful ones are also looking for ways to combine, services like with what Crown Castle has and what Rackspace has. If you think about manufacturing, for instance, there are so many manufacturing plants that are strategically placed for raw materials, for transportation, for these sorts of things, but not necessarily for connectivity. Consequently, the IT inside of those locations are relatively antiquated and isolated. But with the advancements in technology, stuff that Roger brings to the table at Crown Castle now unlocks the ability to bring edge-based services, cloud-based services into some of these locations where it hasn't been available before. So think about how you can combine these things.
Yeah, I agree. And I think in the case of whether, I know for certain Rackspace has a variety of resources that can kind of parachute in on conversations, by the way. And so one thing we see is these technology advisors aren't afraid to talk about stuff that they might not necessarily have a full command of. They don't have to know every detail of the solution before entering a conversation with a customer. And they're not afraid to bring in resources from Crown Castle or Rackspace or what have you to kind of, take the discovery process further or move that opportunity to a sale. So those are all real attributes of the, top advisors out there who just aren't afraid to enter conversations where they might not be 100% in terms of a subject matter expert.
Yeah, I know. I love all of that. And I love the idea of expanding these opportunities. Can you guys walk through an example? Have you seen advisors discover or uncover like an unexpected solution during the sales process by, aiming more broadly and bringing in more stakeholders into the conversation?
I've seen it all the time, and it always starts with what I've mentioned before, and that's just being inquisitive. It might be where the conversation starts with Roger at Crown Castle saying, "Hey, we're trying to get connectivity to our this office, whatever this office is," and so the seller partner who is limited in scope thinks, "Okay, let's get connectivity there. Connectivity's in. Okay, I'm all done." Well, the next logical question is, what's going across that path? What is it for? It's for Office 365 users that are, oh, you have Office 365. What SKU are you on? I don't know. Well, let's find out, because there's E3, E5, E7, and all sorts of permutations, and nobody is consuming all of that. Elastic Engineering for Office 365 helps customers utilize all of that. How are you securing your 365? Oh, I don't know if we are using two-factor. Well, did you know that? And just by asking the questions, it starts with connectivity. It ends with, well, should never end in a cloud-based context. Roger, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, exactly the same. I mean, I kind of frame it like this. It's we see partners who really understand how to wire themselves around listening versus talking. And so it's sort of, we talked about it a minute ago, the open-end questions like, tell me about your security environment or your challenges. How are you managing your mobile or home workforce? How are you incorporating cloud services into your strategy today? What is your biggest technology challenges? Those types of conversations in our world. We have partners out there who understand very well, as Jeff just said, if you're ordering a dedicated internet access or a point-to-point DIA or a wave circuit, what's really going on here? How are you securing that? What are you doing in terms of, your security policies associated with it? Just asking, one more question, you can turn a $1,000 opportunity into a $5,000 opportunity like that. So that the partners who do that the best are the most successful.
I definitely agree. It's always better to be inquisitive, open-minded and asking more of those questions. And I think we've, hit the nail on the head with the sense too of it is a mistake to kind of end the conversation when you get the first win, that you should continuously be asking those conversations. So Roger, I'd love to know, what are some other huge sales mistakes that you see technology advisors make today that cause them to miss or lose out on opportunities? And what would you suggest they do to prevent this from happening?
Yeah, this all lines up and is sort of going in the same direction we've been talking about. The fact is, not asking, simple questions in some cases. And what we see is candidly, it's partners, I think it feels like they're just afraid to broach a topic or enter into a conversation because they feel like they have a low knowledge level. And, or not really leveraging, I mentioned it earlier, kind of the provider resources that are out there, whether that's training up front or sales engineering or strategic advisors who can kind of, parachute in on the opportunity and help them and guide them. Just not doing those things are the biggest mistakes that we see because you're leaving opportunity on the table. You're not really bringing a full 360-degree set of products and services to your customer. And we tell partners all the time, just ask the question, get us in the door, we'll come in. And the best part about that is that's when you really learn, because when we come in and now we're sitting in front of the customer and we're taking them through the discovery process and taking them from opportunity all the way through, perhaps closure stage and deploying a solution. That's the best way to learn. And so just encouraging partners out there to get out of their comfort zone or their fear zone and get into, just being, just understanding a few key questions. We provide a lot of what we call battle card information. Here's 5 questions to ask to kind of get the juices flowing with the customer in terms of what they might need, and then bring us in and we'll show you how to take it to the next step. I think the partners who don't do that just are, they're making a mistake.
Yeah, Jeff, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. What are some of the biggest sales mistakes that you see advisors making today, and what would you suggest they do to prevent this from happening?
Yeah, so of course, everything that Roger just said, spot on. You don't have to sell it all yourself. That's what we're here for. It's what our teams, it's what our thousands of employees at Rackspace are for, coming out and making sure that all the right questions are asked and the requirements are gathered that would deliver a positive experience and outcome. But that really drives me towards what I think is a big mistake. Now, I already led with what should you do? You should ask questions, and those questions are going to uncover opportunities. But the next thing you really want to ask, in my opinion, is, okay, so if we could provide a service around that, what would success look like to you as an organization? Because we have our own ideas of what success looks like. We've designed these products and services to behave in a certain way, and if that behavior it functions correctly and our what we call NPS or Net Promoter Scores are where we expect them, we feel like we've been successful. But what we want to know is what makes the business successful. If we're able to come alongside you and help you be more productive with the cloud, well, then what does that look like for your organization? Because that helps them transform from thinking technically and cost, because they have both of those things bouncing in their head, to what would my future life look like in this organization? How would I be more successful? If an IT leader are metrics better for the organization? Are we selling more widgets? Are we, acquiring more customers? Whatever that might be. Is there a pain point we're getting rid of? So understanding the true business impact of the service that they're representing, and helping then the customer to envision what that looks like for them as they express it. And then I think that's a huge mistake. A lot of folks don't necessarily do that.
I love all of this advice, and I'm sure our advisors out there are going to be loving this video. To wrap us up today, Jeff, I'd love if you can tell us, is there a misconception that people have about Rackspace? And what's the best way you overcome that misconception to spotlight your differentiators?
Yeah, the biggest misconception for Rackspace really in a lot of ways gets hung up in our name and our heritage. Rackspace started as a company with data centers and smart people and servers, and we called that managed hosting. Helped define that as a market with Gartner and such, and led that for years and years. But the reality is for the past decade or so, we've been laser focused on helping customers be successful with technology, wherever that technology might reside. Yeah, we still have data centers. We have 40 of them around the world, world-class data centers, connected in large part by our good friends over at Crown. But the reality is we are focused on delivering not only private cloud solutions in our data centers, but public cloud solutions. Our public cloud offerings, business unit is over $1 billion business for Rackspace. We operate in a global function with about 7,000 employees all around the world, helping customers be successful with technology. So I would love for folks to not necessarily just think of us as that data center company, but as a true services company who can unlock the potential that exists in technology today.
I love that. Thank you. Roger, I'd love to hear too. What about Crown Castle? What misconceptions do people have about Crown Castle, and what's the best way that you find that Crown Castle overcomes that misconception?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question and the opportunity to share that. I would say probably the most common one is not understanding our size. If you know about Crown Castle, you probably think of us as maybe sort of small or super niche, or perhaps just operating in a certain region. The fact of the matter is we're over a $6 billion company. We have an $80 billion market cap. We have an investor grade credit rating. I mentioned earlier, we've got the second largest fiber footprint in terms of, route miles in the United States. All of this typically sort of surprises a lot of folks. So that's the first thing. But I would say also, we're not so large we can't get out of our own way, but we have this sort of unique kind of circumstance where we have this powerful financial situation. And, we're a very healthy company, but we have the power behind it with such a large market cap that we can do anything we need to do for our customers and our partners. And that's a very unique combination of sort of being nimble and agile, but also very powerful at the same time. And all of that drives, to answer your question specifically, what is really our key differentiator? I mean, you heard me talking about it earlier. We've got infrastructure across the United States, and we, obviously our core business that we've been in for 30 years is, managing towers, which is, a massive, growth area for our business today. Small cell technology, rooftop wireless infrastructure. Obviously, those are things that our customers appreciate, and our partners as well. But if you ask our customers and our partners, say, what's the thing that I appreciate most about Crown Castle? It has nothing to do with any of that, our fiber network, our towers. It has to do with our differentiated customer experience. And it's a genuine, this is not something we just slap on posters around here, or we wear on t-shirts or something like that. It is a genuine intentional effort built around the customer. And it's not just me saying it. We have some, facts behind it and some figures. We manage it and measure it very closely. Our most recent net promoter scores had us at a plus 65, which is optimal for our industry. And I would go on to tell you that we have a top box score, which is the score that represents how many customers report that they would rate you a 9 or a 10, and ours is 85%, which again is optimal for our business. And so when all the dust settles and all the services are deployed, that's the most important thing you need to know about Crown Castle. And that's what our partners will say, the ones that work with us. And so we're just trying to say, hey, give us a shot. Not a lot of partners really know about Crown Castle, and we're trying to, through videos just like this, we're trying to resolve that.
I'm very glad that you joined us today so we could help resolve that. I know our advisors are going to love this information, both from Crown Castle and Rackspace. So thank you so much, Roger and Jeff, for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it. I think we had a really just great conversations about ways that our advisors can find more opportunities for Crown Castle, for Rackspace, and in general. So thank you for your expertise. Thank you for taking the time to sit with me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.